Hey everybody, welcome back to Grow 365. I'm Josh. It is an absolute beautiful day today. It's in the mid 80s. Even though we're in the middle of April, we are in the South in Tennessee, so it's quite warm. The trees are all leafed out. There's butterflies, there's birds, there's a creek over there. Can't see it on camera, but it's absolutely beautiful right now. Since we're in spring, I thought we would talk about lettuce. Lettuce is one of those crops that is considered a cool season vegetable. It's not like tomatoes or peppers. In fact, most vegetables we grow for leaves or stems or flowers, they tend to like it cool. And here in the South, that means they prefer either the spring or the fall. They don't really like it in summer. What the natural life cycle of those types of plants tends to be is they sprout and grow in the spring, and then as soon as the temperature gets hot enough, they put all their energy into what is called bolting, or going to seed. They put up the flowers, they produce seed, they drop, and then they die. Now, I don't want my lettuce to bolt, obviously, so I have two choices. I can either plant early in the year when it's still cool, or I can plant varieties that are more heat tolerant. Some of you might remember we're actually starting a garden from scratch. So we have to build everything from the ground up, no pun intended. It's been a lot of work. There's been some delays. We had hoped to have things ready to plant last month in March. That just didn't happen, and we're still waiting. In fact, they're installing the water hookup now today, which we're excited about, but we just didn't have a way to put vegetables in quite yet. So this stuff right here, I planted in February. And it is a month overdue to be planted. This should be planted last month. This Rouge de Vert variety is very cold tolerant. It's probably not gonna like the temperatures we've been having lately. We've been in the 80s already, and we're only gonna get warmer. So I'm gonna plant this and hope for the best, but we'll see. I may have to just harvest it young or maybe clip the leaves off. This is a variety, it's a butterhead called Capitan, and this is supposed to do a lot better in heat. I have high hopes for that one, that we might go ahead and get full-size heads off of it. So needless to say, choosing the right lettuce variety is pretty important. You know, there are people who live, let's say, up in the Pacific Northwest along the coast, or you live up on the Great Lakes, and your summers are a lot more cooler or a lot more mild. You may not have to worry about lettuce overheating or needing to switch over to a heat tolerant variety. It's really just specific to the region in which you live. Now, like I mentioned, here in Middle Tennessee, once we hit April, the temperatures just starts to ramp up. And by the time we get to the end of the month, I mean, we might have days that are in the 90s already. And it just depends on the year. Some years are cooler than others, but needless to say, right about now is when we have to switch over to growing a warmer season lettuce. Thankfully, there's a lot of varieties of lettuce that have been bred to be heat tolerant. So I do have a lot to choose from, and I've brought a few of them with me today. Some of these I've been growing for a few years and they've done great. A few of these are new, and I'm looking forward to growing them in our garden this year and seeing how they do. A few of these that have done pretty well for me are this, it's romaine. It's called Calura. That's done really well. I've also grown a romaine called Jericho, also done very well. There's some summer crisp lettuce, which is also called Batavia. That's the type of lettuce, not the variety name. This one is Muir, this one is Magenta. Both of these have done really well for me in the summertime. I do have a couple new varieties this year. Like I mentioned, this Capitan butterhead lettuce is new to me. I don't even know if I've grown butterhead lettuce before, and I've never grown one that is heat tolerant. So I'm looking forward to trying that. And then I have Sparks, which is a romaine lettuce, and it's supposed to kind of have some improved qualities and better heat tolerance. So looking forward to seeing how that does in our summer. Now here's a couple things to keep in mind when you're going to sow your lettuce. It does not like it warm, like I mentioned earlier. And if your temperatures are much over 80 degrees and your nights aren't getting really cool, it's probably not going to germinate, or not going to germinate well, or it may take a long time. For me, with this tray, because we're getting such warm days, I'm going to sow this, and I'm actually going to put this in my house where the temperatures are in the 60s and 70s. And when I see about 50% of those seedlings starting to come up, then I'll pop it outside in the sunshine so it can get acclimated. But that's just a way you can grow lettuce, kind of trick it into sprouting when it's warm outside. Now, you don't have to plant in a tray. You can actually sow lettuce directly in the ground if it's cool enough. So that might be a better option for you. I really like to do trays for the reason I just mentioned, but also because when you have plugs, when you have little plants you can plant, you can actually space them out perfectly where you want them to go. And if you know how big that lettuce head is going to get ultimately, you can give them the perfect spacing, and that way you can just easily harvest those heads. Generally, lettuce takes about 60 days from the time you put the seed in the ground or in the tray till the time that you're harvesting a full head. There's some exception to that, and the reason is that maybe you want to harvest those heads young. You can totally do that. Maybe you want to harvest the outer leaves little bits at a time. You can also do that. Lettuce isn't like a fruit crop, you know, it's not like a pepper or a tomato where you have to wait for it to be ripe. The whole plant is edible and you can harvest it whenever you feel like it. Don't feel like you have to wait till the 60 days are up. Harvest that lettuce whenever it looks like you want to eat it. Now, in my experience, sowing lettuce is pretty forgiving. The packet says it should go about 1/8 inch into the soil. I kind of just take my finger like I've done here and made these little impressions. And I'm gonna put the seed into that. I might kind of use my fingers to cover it just a little bit, and then we'll hit it with some vermiculite. But you know, there are some seeds that are light dependent, and if you don't put them on the top of the soil, they'll never sprout. I find that lettuce it's just not that picky. I'm gonna aim for 1 seed per indentation here. Sometimes I will, in fact, I'll probably do it on this tray. I'll add a couple of seeds every few holes just so that I have a backup to transplant if one of the seeds doesn't come up. I'd rather have too many than too little. But generally for me, lettuce seed, as long as it's within a couple years old, it does seem to sprout very, very well. Now I'm just gonna essentially just pull the soil over it, just pinch it in a little bit. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. So to finish up here, I'm just gonna top this tray with vermiculite. Vermiculite's really good stuff. It's found naturally in the earth. I think they put it through a heating process, which essentially puffs it up, and then it's crushed into these very absorbent flakes. And you will add this to the top of the soil, and it does 2 things. It keeps your soil from drying out, keeps it moist, and it also stops things like mold from growing on the top of the soil. So it's just all around good for your seedlings, and I've been using it now for a couple of years. Anytime I plant something, I go ahead and top it with vermiculite. As you can see, I'm back here in the garden. I did mention earlier that the place we have for lettuce, that's gonna be really good a little bit later, it's just not quite ready. Rather than let this lettuce go to waste, I'm going to go ahead and plant it in between our rows of potatoes. It's hard to see on camera, but there are potatoes coming up here. There's some potatoes coming up here. So there's 2 rows. I'm just gonna put it in between and hope for the best. And that might mean we need to harvest these heads when they're small. That might mean we just kind of clip the leaves off the outer side, and if they bolt, we'll just pull them up, but I think we'll at least get something out of them. With these little trays, it's pretty easy. They just pop right out, and you have a plug just like that. And then you just get a little trowel or something, make a little hole, stick it in there, and there it is. So planting lettuce is really easy when they're in plug trays like this. According to the directions on the packet, it recommends that these be 8 to 12 inches apart. But again, this is not ideal conditions. I don't think we're gonna get mature heads that size, so I'm just gonna go 6-ish inches. I'm not gonna go the full 8, definitely not gonna go the full 12. Sometimes you just have to improvise. Well, that's the lettuce planted, and we're gonna hope for the best. But even if it doesn't work out, like I said, we got more lettuce coming that's more heat tolerant. We'll have the beds ready for it. But we've already got some other stuff in the ground. We have onions, we have, like I mentioned earlier, potatoes. We're gonna grow squash and zucchini and dwarf melons, which is a new one. Can't wait to see how that works out. Of course, we'll have tomatoes and peppers. So there's a lot that's coming to this garden. We just haven't gotten it in yet, but here in the next few weeks, I think it will go pretty quick. I was really happy to see, you can't see it here, but at the side of the corner of the field, the county got the water hooked up. So now we just got to trench it in, get some hydrants hooked up, and we'll be good to go. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll stick with us as we grow.